Welcome to Monday through Friday Cellular Agriculture for Pandemic-Free Future. My name is George Ortega. This is episode number 24, recording on Sunday, August 9th, 2020 at 2:57 p.m. Eastern Time. What I'm going to try to do today is just briefly go through the details. I think that just going through an overview of what we're going through, then just moving into what seems to me, it's just becoming more and more clear to me that this is really a moral issue. I mean, this isn't an issue of lack of information or technology. So let's see where this goes. All right, so first thing we need to consider is the loss of life, physical health, social distancing. This coronavirus is just wreaking havoc on our society. You know, kids aren't being taught in school, people are losing their jobs, people are afraid of being evicted, landlords aren't getting rent. The economy is experiencing a major stress. And, if you want to put a monetary value on some of it, because, how can you put a monetary value on so many lives lost and suffering? Aside from that, the Congressional Budget Office predicts that when this is all done, it will have cost us $8 trillion. All right, so the next thing to keep in mind, to appreciate, is this is a zoonotic disease, meaning it comes from animals. Whether it comes from wild animals like bats directly to humans, or from wild animals to domesticated animals like cows and chickens and pigs to humans, that's relatively inconsequential because the answer is the same. All right. Now, the answer in the long term are universal vaccines. We'd have to have a universal flu vaccine, a universal vaccine for some of the other viruses like the coronavirus. We'd have to have all right, so now in terms of the vaccines, it is part of the answer. And so, we're investing maybe several $1 billion on vaccines. It might have increased recently because of this COVID-19, but we need to scale that up to like at least 50 billion, over the next few years. Give us a chance for that. All right, so next thing to keep in mind is this COVID-19 is not a 1 in 100 year event. And if it is, because like the politicians have been saying, if it is, then we're in trouble because the Spanish flu 1918 pandemic killed between 50 and 100 million people. Okay, this COVID-19 hasn't killed 1 million people yet, So if this is a 1 in 100 year event, well, it's 100 years. So and apparently this isn't the one. So what, we come out of this and we wait for the real one, this real, but the truth of the matter is that these pandemics have been becoming more and more frequent, and they may be becoming more and more deadly. We'll see. All right, so all right, so we've got, if we're going to be safe, like I think we want to be from future pandemics, live relatively normal lives, it couldn't be clearer. We either go vegan, and we're talking about the entire world, because whether a pandemic starts in China or Africa, South America, wherever it is, I mean, it's going to spread throughout the world. That's the kind of world we live in. So it's not about just keeping us here in the United States free of the conditions that cause pandemics. We have to think about the entire world. Um, so, you know, that's the ideal thing would be to go vegan. You know, that also would address the ethical component of this, which we'll get into after I go through this brief summary. But, you know, let's be a bit realistic. I'm not sure we who are so comfortable, you know, being complicit in this, you know, abuse of like 70 billion farm animals each year on our factory farms, which is what's causing this, which is why we're being punished, really. I don't think we have yet the moral fortitude to go vegan. We just, like, you know, let's face it. I mean, not all of us. You know, most people, 98% of people, are not vegan in the United States, and you know, that's not expected to change. All right, so like briefly in 2013, a new technology was developed that will allow us to grow meat, fish, dairy, eggs in labs in a way that's much healthier for us, you know, much less heart disease and cancer. It's just, you know, we can create these new food products, meat products, with fewer of the harmful ingredients that the products that come from animals have, and we can create them in sterilized environments that highly minimize, if not virtually eliminate, the risks of future pandemics. You know, because, you know, bat and wild animal cannot get into one of these. There are no animals, domesticated animals, to infect. There are these cells in these vats that are enclosed. All right, so the current rate of research, it'll take us maybe 10, 15 years to get these to market. But if we move as swiftly as we've been moving to develop the COVID-19 vaccine, which we might have one within a year or so, it's reasonable to expect that we could have these new pandemic-free products in supermarkets in 2-3 years, you know, if we start investing. So, you know, we should probably be spending $50 billion, you know, to fast track this cellular agriculture research. Why 50 billion? It's a ballpark figure, but it should be more than enough. And while some people might, you know, yell and scream, "Oh, this is so much," I mean, it's 1/2 of 1% of what we'll be spending on this one. So, you know, it's really a bargain, you know, for the peace of mind, for the economic stability, for the stability in people's lives. All right, so all right, so let's, you know, so that's the thing, you know, we can be stupid and evil, you know, and not do anything, or we could ramp up the research for this cellular agriculture, ramp up research for the vaccines, and ideally, it'd be great if many, many more of us went vegan. So this is not, you know, or, well, let's start indicting, basically. You're not hearing, you know, I go through the news pretty much every day, read the Washington Post, New York Times, I go through Google News, CNN, NPR, Wall Street Journal, and watch ABC News once in a while. Now, people are not talking about, you know, what needs to be done. You know, the people are, you know, they're talking about, yeah, how are we going to get out of this one? The money needs to be spent, you know, create jobs, prevent evictions, and fine, that's important. But you would think that that these news organizations, these media organizations, would be interested in helping us solve the problem, you know, for the future. You'd think that that they'd want to make us aware of this cellular agriculture, of the fact that it's not just wet markets in Asia and China that are the problem. I actually just learned recently there are about 8 wet markets right here in New York City. There are apparently wet markets all over the United States. I don't know if they deal with wild animals or domesticated. I'm not sure what the difference between a wet market. I guess wet markets have live animals, you know, that they kill them when people order them or something. It's pretty sick. But what the media isn't telling you is that, you know, what we have to do to be safe of future pandemics, you know, and, you know, it's a moral problem because who are the media? The media are controlled by the rich, and the rich have just like, you know, they've just trashed the planet. I mean, like there's a lot of good that's come from some rich people, you know, you can't deny that. But considering climate change, considering this pandemic, considering other emerging threats like, you know, this factory farming is leading to antibiotic resistance. You know, there's an estimate that by 2050, there's going to be 10 million deaths a year because the antibiotics that we're using now to treat us will no longer work. You know, because we pump 80% of the antibiotics we use here in the United States into these factory farms. And I think I read that there were about 32,000 tons of antibiotics used, or maybe the figure was, it was about like 32,000 elephants. You know, that's how, you know, the weight of 32,000 elephants, that's how much we're using in antibiotics each year. So, yeah, well, I mean, hey, the rich corporations, you know, they've basically bought our government, and, you know, people are, the average person, you know, should be aware of this and should be informed and fighting it. But unfortunately, the average person is really not much better, if at all, than these rich people who are trashing the planet. You know, again, climate change is a perfect example. I mean, like, it's beyond understanding how we can be so indifferent, so callous to the plight of future generations, our children and grandchildren. So I guess, you know, I'm trying to find a theme for this. You know, I guess we have to accept we're really evil people, most of you. You know, people who are like eating meat, fish, dairy, buying it from these, you know, markets that you know that the animals are being tortured, and so yeah, if you're that evil, you know, we may just have to kind of like throw up our hands, you know, throw up a white flag and say, hey, you know, that's it. We let this play its course. Now, I doubt the existing power structure is going to remain, you know, because I mean, after a while, people, you know, people lose jobs, people lose livelihoods, people lose people, you know, eventually people say enough. That hasn't happened yet. So, you know, maybe it's a matter of time, the slow decline. It's kind of like a decline of the Roman Empire. You know, empires have their time, the British Empire, Spanish Empire, you know, so yeah, I mean, that might be what needs to happen. I mean, you know, again, this is the 24th episode. I'm not seeing this in the news. I doubt people are talking about it all that much, and that's the problem. It's a moral problem. People don't care. People are, you know, we could say that we're too busy with our own lives. Yes, we are. But that's actually, you know, a symptom of the problem. You know, yeah, we make our lives really busy. We kind of we sacrifice aspects of morality to taking on jobs and lifestyles that require a lot of money, that then take our time, and then we complain we don't have time to devote to serious matters like, like learning about and doing something about these pandemics. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, sometimes I feel a bit more optimistic today. I don't know if it's more realistic, but, I'm thinking to myself, well, in times like this, maybe it's good to look at the big picture. And what I mean by that is that, the known universe, the universe since the Big Bang that we can measure, we can observe, has been around for almost 14 billion years. Okay, so, human beings, in our current form, I mean, there are different estimates, 30,000 years, 200,000 years, depends on how we define a human being. But we haven't been here that long, as a species. And segue to 1,000,000 years from now, and we're gone. Who knows what's going to be here in another 1,000,000 years, and like, again, who knows who'll be here. So the idea is like, yes, this may be the end of this reality that that we've become accustomed to. And if we're not going to fight it, if we're not going to summon up the morality to do what needs to be done, well, there's not much left to be done than just accept, our circumstances, accept our situation. Yes, it's going to get worse. Yes, this won't be the last pandemic. Between this and climate change, I would expect, I guess, some geopolitical instability. Again, this is like anybody's guess, but let's say the United States was the victim of some countries that caused, let's say, the cities on our shorelines to just get inundated by water, with climate change. Our country, knowing us as I believe I do, we would take down countries with us. That's, I think, what we do. If you're going to destroy our economy, our livelihood, you're going down with us. Well, I have a feeling that that's how a lot of the world feels about us. And they have the power, either through IT or biological weapons. Any one of these viruses, bacteria, can be weaponized. They collect them in labs and find ways of dispersing them. So that's something, we either solve this problem or see it descend into, more and more chaos, more and more conflict, because that's what it is, who knows? So yes, like, if we're not going to fight, if we're just going to if you guys are going to be evil and not too bright, just not thinking this through, then we just wait. We enjoy ourselves as much as possible while we have the time. And I suppose when things get worse, well, we become more Buddhist. We meditate a lot more. We give up our ambitions, our hopes, our dreams. I mean, I could be wrong. We could be moving into a moral reformation. We could be learning our lesson. But I don't see it. I don't see it in the media. I don't see it in the social media. I don't see our politicians talking about it. So, this crisis is showing us a part of us that we've been hiding from ourselves and each other. Those of you who eat meat, sorry, I'm not going to include myself in this. Those of you who eat meat and fish and dairy, are complicit. This is worse than the Nazis did in the Holocaust. And why do I say it's worse? Well, you had these SS people, these soldiers, in the Nazi army, And to them, they had to commit their atrocities, otherwise they and their family would be killed. They were a much more difficult position than we're in right now. Those of you who eat meat and fish and dairy and could care less about what those animals endure, the torture, you don't have that excuse. You know, you just want lower prices for your food products. And you're getting punished. I mean, if you think it through, you'd realize that the extra meat and fish and dairy, well, not so much fish perhaps, but the dairy and eggs that you're eating are making you sick. They're giving you heart disease and cancer, and you know, they're just like, you're getting punished. Not coronavirus notwithstanding, pandemics notwithstanding. But you don't get this. All right, so here's where I absolve you. You know, yes, you're very evil. I'm sorry. There's you know, how else can you describe it? You know, 70 billion farm animals. You know, pigs kept, you know, for 2-3 years in a stall so small they can't even turn around. No hay in their feces and urine all day long, months and months at a time. That's evil. You know, and so I mean, your absolution, you know, I think it's important. As long as you're going to be this evil, you might as well, you know, accept this absolution. You know, it's not really your fault. You know, you know, this country, this world had a lot of evil before this. You know, like this country, we went through our slavery. We you know, that was horrible beyond horrible. This is actually worse. But you know, I mean, anybody who's done research into, you know, what happened to the slaves over the several hundred years here in the United States understands, you know, exactly what I'm talking about. It's a terribly evil institution, and then we went to segregation, discrimination. You know, blacks still don't have the same rights and privileges as white people in a lot of parts of this country. Again, we've been abusing these animals for decades, year after year, 70 billion plus each year. So yeah, we're, you know, if you're born into a world like that, as you were, as your friends and your family were, then it's understandable that you're going to turn out the way you did, that you're not going to really care because nobody else cares. The media doesn't care. The politicians don't care. The clerics don't care. I mean, the clerics are an interesting group because I think of all the groups of people, the institutions on the planet, the clerics, I think, have the potential to have the most influence. But the problem with clerics, again, Christians, Jewish, Muslims, most of them are beholden to their congregations. You know, most of them, you know, wouldn't dream of telling their congregations, listen, you know, I've got something to tell you, you know, our food products are eating meat and dairy and all are causing these pandemics, and we either go vegan or just like shift to this new agriculture. I'm sorry, the courage isn't there in the clerics, in the religious leaders of the world. So, so there is no one. There is no one. There's an occasional scientist, Michael Greger. He's up on this. You know, if you some YouTube videos, he gets this. So you know, he has an excellent 1-hour video where he goes through the origins of pandemics, shows how they're all, you know, arising from the domestication of animals, and shows how, like, especially over the last 30 years, the number of pandemics, number of outbreaks, epidemics have increased a lot. So some people know this. But again, you know, like, and the reason I want to absolve you is because, like, you know, you probably believe, oh yeah, this is like, you know, you don't want to look at this because you're blaming yourself. You know, yes, you know, if I look at this too closely, too carefully, I'll see that I'm really a horrible person. You know, so you don't look at it, you know, and neither do your friends, do your family, and like anybody who's eating meat, fish, dairy. You know, that's, you don't look at it, and that's how you pretend that you're not who you are. All right, so but that's because, like, you know, because you have this belief that, well, it's your fault if you're that horrible, that evil of a person. Maybe if you understood that, no, it's not your fault. You were born into this world, you were conditioned by our society, by our media, by our lifestyle, by our parents. Nobody's talking about this. So like, you're all thinking, well, it can't be that bad because everyone's doing it. And gee, everybody seems like they're good people. They seem to be good to me, So that explains it, like, essentially you don't have a free will, all right? Einstein was right, Freud was right, Darwin was right, Newton was right. These are our four top minds. And just like we have this amazing arrogance, people who aren't all that bright, or are in positions of power, think that they know reality, science better than these four giants of science, coming from three different fields, like physics, psychology, biology. So we have, in addition to this epidemic of viruses, we have an arrogance epidemic, just like people. And, Democrats tend to accuse the Republicans of not trusting, respecting scientific authority that much. Well, there's not much of that going around if people, again, believe in free will. And all right, so you're absolved. It's not really your fault, but that only takes you so far, because the way this world works, unfortunately, is we get rewarded when we're compelled by nature, God, whatever you want to call it, to do good, and it is God. I'm a theist, and then we're punished when we're compelled to do bad, compelled to do evil. So, all right, well. Again, this is episode number 24. I'm searching for a way. I've been wanting to give this a positive spin. Hey, let's create a much better world. Let's stop eating animals. Let's be much better people. We can do this, cheerlead this. I'm not there yet, because how do I reasonably expect people who just aren't paying even attention to this? We don't want to pay attention. We're just like, I don't understand you. I'm sorry, you're taking part in this abuse of animals, and you don't want to look at it. So what do you say? All right, well, I don't know, maybe I'll know what to say next time. So anyway, got about half a minute left. I hope you're having a good Monday. I'll catch this every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. White Plains Community Media, channel 76 if you get Optimum, 45 if you get Verizon, and episodes are on YouTube. And maybe if we're willing, because I don't have free will either, if we're willing, God will give me the words to convince you to change your ways, and maybe we can create a pandemic-free world. Thanks for watching.